all these things that we hear actually cause fear to grip our hearts. So men's hearts feeling them for fear on the things that they see, right? Whatever they're seeing, it grips their heart and it's causing them fear. Hey everyone, welcome back to Coaching Genius Lives. Really glad you can join us this week. So glad you can join us in our videos because you know what? Every single week we come to you with fresh ideas, fresh concepts. And this Monday, I want to share with you a message that will inspire your hearts and will lift you up. And whatever you're going through right now, I hope this message will speak to you wherever you are on planet Earth. Right? So if you're new to the channel, remember to hit the subscribe button and notification bell to stay tuned with all the latest updates that we have for you. Well, today I want to talk about one thing, and I think it's going to be so important for all our lives, is this thing called fear. Fear. F-E-A-R, fear. Now, we may have heard about this notion of fear and how to overcome fear, but I want to talk about this shift. It's not just fear itself, but this notion of the fog of fear. The fog of fear. Now, how many of you have been to a place, or in an environment where you see a fog, a misty feeling in the morning? So I remember when I was a pilot back in many years ago, I was traveling to my camp, or the airfield, and I was driving along the airfield, and I would always see this fog that comes in the morning, and only in the morning you see this huge fog, huge mist. We call them mist, we call them fog, but it's this haziness that we can't see really what's in front of us. So the road will be kind of blurry, and you got to be really careful because you got to turn on your headlights to make sure that there's no cars in front of you or no wildlife that's in front of you to put you at risk. So when I was traveling, I was saying, hey, the fog does bring two kinds of feeling. One, it's that serenity that I get in the morning when there's peace, no one is disturbing me. But the second thing that I do get is this, a sense of uncertainty, a sense of fear, a sense of lingering, sense of uneasiness when I'm looking in and peering in through the fog. So my thought was this, why do I feel that way? Why do this fog seem to stay that way? Why does this fog have such a juxtaposition way of feeling for me? And why on one hand I'm feeling the serenity, on the other hand I'm feeling that uneasiness, especially when I don't see any cars around me, right? I get more uncomfortable as I'm going through the fog. Now the truth is this, the fog is just a representation of things that we cannot see. So when fog arises, fog actually comes from the dews that comes out in the morning, and that makes the whole place really foggy. And sometimes, of course, we have the man-made fog, which is the smog, which comes from industrial pollutions and stuff. But really, the fog actually blinds us from seeing what we can see ahead of time. So in the pathway, in the road ahead, the great news is this, whenever we can see a clear pathway, it's great for us. But when we can't see, when there's fog, we tend to be really, really afraid because we're not sure what's ahead. Now, a lot of helicopter pilots and even pilots as well, whenever there's low density fogs or low density clouds, it often blinds our orientation or situational awareness around what's happening to us. And many crashes happen because many times pilots are not sure what's ahead of us. And when they go through a certain fog, we only have a moment or matter of seconds before we realize what's in front of us, and we may crash into a mountain or we may crash into something, not knowing what's ahead of us. So whenever there's fog, one thing that happens first is that we begin to slow down. We begin to ask ourselves, second guess ourselves. We begin to ask a lot of questions because we're wondering whether that will work or this will work. So the fog always begins with this notion of what I call the pre-state of fear. The pre-state of fear. So before fear gets full-blown, the fog is there. Sometimes what we can do, so the question then becomes, what can we do to help us alleviate the fog of fear, and so that we can move past those fears that be. So today we look at that, and hopefully this message will really inspire you and change you. So wherever you're listening, some of you may be saying, hey Jedi, I'm feeling a bit fearful because recently, I read another pandemic that may be happening. I read another case that's happening in China, in Vietnam, in different parts of the world. And recently, there's an explosion in Beirut. And I'm just wondering, why is the world seem to be going in deeper and deeper in darkness? Like this year itself, there's so much things that's happening. Industries are wiped out, economies are shattered, families are broken, and so many disasters are happening all around the world. We even have the largest locust infestation in Africa as well. So how do we help ourselves to navigate through this fog of fear? One of the truths is this: as a coach, as a speaker, as an influencer, my message is to really help and inspire and change lives. So what I begin to do is this: how do I then look at life different? Then I realized one thing is true, because when I speak to every single person, they're always telling me this. Jedi, I was hearing this the other day. I was hearing that the other day. And that really caused me to be so afraid. And this really caused me to be so afraid. I'm just wondering, what can I do? What can I do? So this one thing is true. When we look at this, people are trying to find a way out of fear into hope. People are trying to find a way out of fear into hope. And that's what they're really looking for. How do I get out of this fear? I don't want to stay in this fear. I'm not happy to stay in this fear. I want to get out into hope. And the second thing that I'm really asking is this: what are we hearing today? So I asked them this question: what are you hearing today? What are you hearing? What's the message you're hearing today? Are you hearing about the news and saying that, 9 out of 10 like this, 1 out of 10 like that, 90% of the world face this, industries, 55% will experience retrenchment, and even for graduates today, they may not even secure a job. And what about our people who are working in the industry? Maybe the future of industry is that you might not have a security in your job, because for one day you might have this job, the next day you might crumble in the job, and we're not feeling that altogether. So how do we face that? How do we change that? How do we experience that? So this whole notion of what are we hearing, it's going to be so critical. So what we're hearing actually does matter. So the fog in our lives actually are formed based on what we're hearing. The more we hear, the more the fog appears. The more we hear, the fog can also disappear. So what we hear, it's really, really important. So let me share with you some insights here. Do you know the word hear, H-E-A-R, comes from the word ear? When you put a H, you have here. You put a T at the end, you have the word heart. So many times fear grips our heart. So what you hear is important, because you want to change what you hear, you change what you feel, and you can change what you see. So let me tell you a little bit more about that. Whenever we hear, our hearts get impacted a lot, because our hearts get shifted by what we're hearing. Think about this: when you hear about something that's happened to someone with the COVID situation, that makes me a lot of fear. Or we hear someone about having a heart attack in your family line, and they say, "Oh no, will I also have one of those genes that will affect my heart?" So all these things that we hear actually cause fear to grip our hearts. So man's hearts feeling them for fear on the things that they see. Right, whatever they're seeing, they grip their heart and it's causing them fear. Now, in this generation, you see people fearing much more, and that fear is gripping their hearts and preventing them from living a fulfilling life. And no wonder many people are feeling sad, down, depressed, trodden over, because this fear is gripping their hearts. So how do we help them change that? First is to help them recognize that what they hear impacts their heart. So what they hear impacts their heart. So for coaches, for leaders, for speakers, listen carefully to your clients, listen carefully to your teams, because what they hear actually do impact their hearts. So as leaders, I would say this: you have an ethical, you have a professional, you have a core to be careful, to hold true your words that you say to your team. You have a core to guard your mouth, because your team will take your words seriously. For example, you tell a team, well, you guys are lousy, you guys suck, you guys are terrible, you guys cannot compare with others. Guess what? Your team takes your words seriously, and it will affect their performance, it will affect their heart. To me, as leaders, as coaches, I will be very judicious, I'll be very prudent with the words I use with my clients. So that's going to be really important as well. So think about this. What are the things we are hearing that will impact our hearts? So change the way you are actually hearing. How do we change the way we're hearing? Well, for one, it's the way we change is that we tune in. For example, the news may say, 7 out of 10 will experience this by age 40. Okay, well, 7 out of 10. I'm one of those 3. 3 out of 10 will not experience this. I'm one of those 3. So you're hearing the same message, but you're applying a different meaning to the message. This is an example of meaning reframe, meaning reframe or content reframe. When you hear someone says, businesses are going down, you are a small business, you are going to be affected, your business is going down. Well, that may be true that a lot of businesses are going down, but for me and my house, I'm going to be different. I'm going to push through. I'm going to have the resolve that says this, right? Everybody may be failing, but I will succeed. And the same thing that happened to us as a company at Coaching Changes Lives. Many people ask us, how do we grow our company? How do we actually scale up? Well, one of the things is true, that we never want to rush in scaling up, because coaching, it's about conversational mastery. Coaching is about building strong community around. All our students are our greatest assets. All our coaches are our greatest assets. So what we do is this: we empower our coaches, we train them, we teach them, we build a strong community to support them so that they grow and they learn and they mature. And this process is what we call changing what they're hearing. The more we help them, the more they're now hearing, say, hey, it's possible. Because guess what? In the coaching journey, sometimes it's kind of scary, right? Especially when it takes so long for you to actually get accreditation. So sometimes in the coaching journey, it can be lonely. It can be tiring. And sometimes, I know of one client and mentoring her towards a PCC, but at times she feels very dejected. She feels that she is deproving rather than improving. And she feels that she's going every step forward, she's going 2 steps backwards. Every step forward, she's going 3 steps backwards. So why is she having that feeling? Well, because she's hearing to something else. She's hearing to herself. She's hearing to that, to her inability. She's hearing to that impossibility. She's hearing to those things that not. What we want to change is then begin to change the way she hear. Rather than hearing, I can't do this. Rather than hearing, I'm deproving. What can you hear that's going to be different today? What's going to be different for you today? Change the way you hear. Well, that's what I tell her. I said, hey, begin to change that, right? Rather than hearing that I can't do this, I can't do this, let's remove that altogether. Let's say, hey, where have we come to? From where have we come to? What have we done so far? What have we accomplished so far? Well, the great thing is this, right? Your text has been really improved. Even your written text is greatly improved. Your spoken text may not be there yet, but you know what? We are one step closer. We are one step closer. So change what you hear. When you change what you hear, you change what you see. Because she was hearing that I can't do this, I can't do this, I'm deproving. No wonder when she say, hey, yeah, actually I'm not, because my transcript is not doing well, my audio recording is not doing well, or what I'm doing is not really well. And no wonder the way she felt about coaching was down, because what she's hearing is influencing what she's seeing, and it's influencing what she's feeling. These three states are so important in the listening process. We need to first change what we hear in order to change what we see, in order to change what we be, or what we're experiencing right now. So what's going to be really important is this. When we hear how much clients change the fog of fear, is first change the words, change what you're hearing about this fog that's in front of you. The fear is not there. The fear is a made-up evidence of things that are, right? But they're not really real. Those are things, right? Yes, you're not having that skill level right now. Yes, you're not getting there right now. But you know what? You've gotten somewhere. You've gotten quite a long way, right? And even if it feels that you're deproving, but you know what? I'm glad you are aware that there's still areas for growth. I'm glad you're aware there's still areas and milestones for you to move forward. So that is an awesome thing to be. So change what you hear and then begin to change what you see, because what you hear will affect what you see. Because now I can see myself, hey, actually I can be a great coach, right? Many people say I can't do it. Well, there was a time when people say I couldn't make it, but we did. Right? There was a time when people say that I can't achieve it, but I did. And I love one song in the Singapore song, right, where it goes like this, right? We build a nation strong and free, reaching out together in peace and harmony. Because there was a time when people say we couldn't make it, but we did. There was a time when someone says you can't make it, but today you're going to prove them wrong. You're going to have a resolve that says, hey, it doesn't matter what people say, but I'm going to make a difference. I'm going to make a change for once in my life. I'm not going to care about what the world says about me. The world can say what they want, they say what they want, but you know what? I'm going to change the way I'm listening. I may be hearing, but you know what? I'm going to change the way I'm listening. I'm going to be different. I'm going to hear that, hey, yeah, I may not be doing well. It's okay. But you know what? I'm taking progressive step forward. I'm going to change. I'm going to make a change. And I'm going to change the way I'm seeing as well. Because the way I speak will influence what I see. And the way I see will change how I feel. So when you change all those things, now the fog that's in front of you no longer becomes something that's scary, no longer becomes something that is hurtful, no longer becomes something that's frightful, but something that's going to empower you and lift you up and set you up from miry clay. Are you ready for this? So my hope and my inspiration to all of you out there listening to this message today is that the fog of fear can either be that drives you forward, either that lights you ahead, or will actually hold you back. And the secret is this: turn up your lights, turn up your hopes, turn up your rhythms that will help you to overcome all these fears that's in front of you. Whenever the fog shines, all you need is to let the heat shine. Let the light shine. How does fog disappear in real life? Well, the sunlight brings about warmth, and the warmth actually lifts up the fog out. Right? The fog is there because the ground temperature, it's still cold. So what I want to encourage you is this: warm up. Set your hearts on flame again. Set your hearts on fire again for the passion with which you are pursuing. I reminded her, one of the coaches that I was mentoring. I said, hey, don't forget why you begin this journey. You began this journey because you wanted to impact lives and change lives, and you wanted to show the world that you can be the youngest master certified coach in the world. And we're going on this journey. Doesn't matter what people say. This is the fog of fear that's happening right now. We're going to change that by shining the light, by raising the sunlight, by raising the temperature there, by helping you set a blaze on your fire, the fire that's in your belly again, and say, hey, you know what? Doesn't matter what the world says. Doesn't matter how I'm feeling. You know what? My feelings doesn't determine where I should be. My feelings, I acknowledge them, but you know what? My feelings will not tell me whether I can, I cannot, whether I'm improving. Doesn't matter. What I want to know is this: I set my course right. I'm going to go forward. I'm going to pursue the pathway of success. I'm going to pursue the pathway of peace. I'm going to pursue the pathway where I want to be. And I'm going to make the difference. I'm going to be the one that's going to be different. And that is a stage shift I'm going to experience. That is the pivot shift we're going to experience. So that is what we call a resolve. The fire on the inside is going to warm up the fog and going to ease out of the fog, and you're going to change your fears into your greatest assets. You're going to come back greater because we're going to turn every single fear to your greatest strength. Turning every single fear on itself by removing the F in life, by putting a H there. So we're going to change what you hear, and that's going to affect your heart by changing what you are listening to, and changing what you're going to see, and changing what you're going to feel, and changing how you're going to be. So that you have the message of hope, message of peace. Every single week, I love to come to you with something fresh inside. And I'm producing a new message series as well, how to overcome fears in your life. And if you want to stay tuned to some of those messages that we have, do leave a comment below so we can keep you updated of our production. And I'm really excited because this whole series, it's really meant for us to get out of this state of fear, because this generation is experiencing more fears than all the generations combined. Why is that so? Even though this generation is living in better houses, in better lives, but there's a certain sense, an elevated sense of fear that's coming upon them. And we want to know this. We want to help people and change their lives by telling employees, businesses, leaders, and speakers that, hey, do not fear. Because when you fear, who's going to lead the team forward? When leaders fear, when coaches fear, who's going to help them be the light to shine in the pathway? As a leader, as a speaker, as a coach, I know one thing is for certain. Whenever I start feeling fear, I got to come back to myself. I got to center myself. I got to ask myself, change what I'm hearing, change what I'm seeing, change what I'm feeling. I got to find that resolve again to light up the flame on the inside of me and say, I'm going to push through. When I first started this company at Coaching Changes Lives, right, I was one person. And I always dreamt that I can have a team today. And today I have a team that's really supporting together with me. I'm not, it's not Jedi's idea, it's not I'm the boss, but you know what, as the team, where do we want to be? How do we move forward in this? How do we inspire others? How do we create change? How do we actually touch more lives and influence people all around us? Today my message to you, and I hope you're hearing this from around the world, is this: how are you experiencing life today? What is going to be different for you today? And I know that many people are fearing because there's a lot of things happening around the world that's kind of scary. How can you change that? How can you change what you see? How can you change what you're feeling? Because if you can change that, I will guarantee you this: you're going to live a more hopeful life, changing your fears into your very hope that will lift you up and set you going. So there you have, right? I hope this message really inspires you and motivates you for this Monday and this week. Now, maybe perhaps you're going to listen to this maybe 1 week time, 2 weeks time, and re-listening this maybe in a year's time or many years time, right? Whatever it is, it doesn't matter which year you're hearing this. But what I want you to do is, when you hear this message, I want you to encourage someone else who's going through a stage of fear, the fog of fear that's coming upon them. I want to encourage someone else, encourage your heart, encourage someone else, and share with me what it's experiencing for you. I'm here. I'm always here reading your comments. And so if this message really inspires you, leave a comment below and let me know what has changed for you. And leave a thumbs up as well and share this message with someone else. And I hope this will really impact more lives. Until next time, this is Jedi here at Coaching Jesus Lives. I'll see you really soon.